scheme that the same people who do the biofertilizer scheme have launched it, and basically what it means is you take your organic material, you put gas into the grid where you make it, and when you do that you'll get a renewable heat incentive payment, which I'll touch upon in a minute. But what you can also do is you can get a green gas certificate, and where that's useful is if I'm a supermarket, I want to lower my carbon footprint most of all of transportation. And it's very, very difficult to do that. A diesel is a formidably good fuel, but natural gas is a very good fuel as well, particularly in dual fuel. So a diesel truck can be bought brand new from Mercedes that runs 70% gas, 30% diesel. So I've got an existing depot and I've got 200 or 300 trucks or whatever, and I can run them on 70% gas, 30% diesel. I really want to get hold of that gas. Well, the best thing is to make that gas where the AD is. So you're making the gas, putting it in the grid where it's being made, and you get the RHI, 1 million kilograms. So you've got certificates to say you've made 1 million kilograms. And then you're going to run your vehicles on 1 million kilograms. And then you're just going to present the two. So at the end of the year, you can say, I have a supermarket, I've taken my waste or my supply chain, I've made 1 million kilograms, and I've run all my trucks on it. And both independent projects, they both stand alone. The AD stands with RHI, that's economic. The vehicle fuel project stands because it is cheap to run a vehicle on natural gas compared to on diesel. And the green gas certificate scheme sort of facilitates that. And National Grid, British Gas, Centrica, Thames Water, Adnams, Milton Keynes, which are some of the supermarkets are interested in. Because when you think of it, it is a very, very good idea. It is not a fantastic idea to run a vehicle directly on biomethane. And the reason I say that is a simple one of economics. I'll jump ahead to this slide here. It's quite an important point. The RHI was announced last week, and it's 6.5 pence per kilowatt hour. So it's not quite as good as that, because you have to knock off the energy that's used to heat the digester. So let's assume you're using it on 20 or 30%. So you maybe need to reduce the effective RHI to say 5p, but that might still be quite attractive. But at the marginal, once you've covered your heat, every extra bit of energy you make and put in the gas grid, you'll get 6.5 pence a kilowatt hour, which in old money is 190 pence a therm. Now, if you were then putting that into a vehicle, you've effectively paid yourself 190 pence extra for that gas, because you've not got the RHI. And then you say, well, do I get a renewable payment because it's in a vehicle? You do, but it's about 30 pence a therm. So you're not going to have a great business if you're foregoing 190 pence and getting 30 pence renewable premium. So I think it's virtually impossible to see much vehicles running directly on biomethane. What will tend to happen is it'll be like this, that the organic material will go into an AD and will go into the gas grid, and that's a sensible thing where the AD is made, where you can get rid of the digestate. And then 100 miles away, where the depot is, the gas will come out and we'll run vehicles on fossil natural gas. And that's what's facilitated here. And this is it is a particularly good idea. And if you talk to people around Europe, the only people who run vehicles on biomethane are people in Sweden. And Sweden doesn't have a gas grid. So they have had to move gas around by road, and they've developed that. And in addition, Sweden has a huge amount of renewable electricity. So for them, running vehicles directly on biomethane has made a lot of sense, but it doesn't really make any sense, I don't think, for any other country in Europe, and certainly doesn't make any sense in the UK. Going back to the RHI, so it was announced last week. I think it is, as I said, the REA campaigned for this, and we tried to play it straight down the line. We gave DEC a spreadsheet which compared FIT with biomethane to grid, and we said if you set a tariff roughly like this, then it will be neutral. So it's not saying biomethane to grid is the best thing. It's because it absolutely isn't the best thing all the time. But at least it gives you a chance. So when you look at your individual circumstances, it might be the best for you if the gas grid's nearby. Maybe if you've got maybe a good model would be if I've done a phase 1 plant with a CHP engine, but that's not using all my heat, and I can then expand to phase 2. So the heat for phase 2 can come from my existing engine, and all my gas from phase 2 can go in the grid. That would be a very, very efficient. That would be a very efficient outcome. So I think there is the potential now to be projects, and I think what we need over the next 2 or 3 years is enough projects, 20 or 30 projects, which develop the supply chain so that we get these grid issues sorted out where it's not £600,000, it's 200. And we get where there's 5 or 6 companies operating in the UK providing these clean-up plants where the costs start to come down. Not in line with Europe, because they're expensive in Europe as well, but more in line with what they will be if you get a more mature market, I think. Key factors at the bottom. The deck mechanism is very simple but very clever, actually. So it does incentivise you to minimise the waste heat. Whereas in the past, it probably hasn't if you've had more heat. Certainly water companies in the past have had a surplus of heat. Now they'll worry about it. Will they insulate the digester? Will they try and have drier sludge? Maybe when material comes out of the digester, it's 40 degrees. Maybe you have to exchange some of that heat to the gas on a winter's day, to feedstock on a winter's day that's only 10 degrees or 5 degrees. So I think it will encourage things like that. The final slide, just on conclusions, is that I think we now do have a regime which really says that the best value will only get if you generate electricity, you've got to really use the heat. We've got a very good gas grid. We're running out of gas. We need to import more gas, obviously. There's no real technical issues. I could have touched upon 1 or 2, but they're sort of second order. They're being sorted out technically. There's not really any particular challenges. And I think there's no real reason why we probably couldn't do maybe 10% of domestic customer demand by 2020. Whether we'll do as much as that, I don't know. But I think there is a direction of travel which says putting biomethane into the gas grid is a very good idea to get renewable heating to our cities, to people who live in cities, because the alternatives are all just so bad. Ground source heat pumps, biomass, they all have major issues. So this does give you a sort of direction which is a sort of quite a good idea. And you can start with biomethane from anaerobic digesters, and then you can move on to gasification of waste and making bio-SNG. And you could do a huge volume of that if there was the will to do that. And the final point, the green gas certificates, which I've mentioned, are a very good idea, and I think it does give some sort of additional marketing opportunities to perhaps to link the use of the gas with the anaerobic digester. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Should we go that way? Great. If I can invite David and John to answer some questions quickly. There are... Yes? Do we have the microphones? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a maximum pressure the grid? If the grid's running at 32 bar, can you get the pressure up suitable to get the gas in?
Yes, it'll just cost you more. So you'll have to compress the gas to 33 bar in that example, and that will be an ongoing electricity cost to get into the grid. Clearly, if there was a grid with 4 bar, it would cost you less electricity.
So they haven't put a sort of maximum on it in terms of receiving gas yet?
No, there are some pipes in this part of the world called the National Transmission System, which are the big pipes that bring gas from Bacton. I think you can't really put your gas into those. I don't think you would anyway, but it'd be too expensive to connect into those. But apart from those, there's no really issues.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Can I thank both of our speakers? They were absolutely enlightening, really, and I'm sorry you had to race through your presentation at the very end, but we will have a link, an email link for everybody, so that everybody will have a copy of all the presentations that you've seen today. So I will quickly move on to, we have run over terribly, but I will just run over to a quick closing sort of announcements, really. I think it's been a huge privilege for me, and I hope everybody else agrees, that to hear the speakers that we've heard today, the knowledge that they've shared with us has been, really enlightening for me. Some of the highlights really is Michael Cheshire's photograph from India with a little anaerobic digestion unit. I so want one of those for my house, It's fab. And I think, being a local councillor, I can't stress enough how much I think the involving the community in your consultation process, how important that is, to get the community to understand what anaerobic digestion is, what the benefits are, and how this will actually support their communities. That, I think for me, that's one really important message that's come out today. And when we were actually, the workshop I was in was the one about the small scale anaerobic digester, and I think the one thing I'll be taking away and want to reflect on is actually how can we start to remove some of those blockages and difficulties that all of you are experiencing, because I think that there's got to be a simpler way that we can produce the right outcomes for all of our counties across Suffolk and the Eastern region. So that just really leaves me to thank all of our speakers, thank everybody for attending today. And I don't know about you, but I'm really looking forward to the 16th of June and the next conference, where I'm sure we will learn an awful lot more again. I've been told to remind you about the evaluation forms, which we all have to do, don't we, after we've been to a conference. So can you please all remember, they will be sent to you online, and I would be very appreciative if you would complete those. So thank you everybody for giving up your time today. Thank you to the speakers for giving up their time, for being with us, and can I wish you all a safe journey home, and there is the exhibition stands for you to browse on your way out. So thank you very much.